Hello and welcome everybody. This is Brian Dalmaso. Welcome to our webinar tonight. And we decided to put together a webinar using the sciences of how people think and act and operate to just have a webinar based on stress and anxiety and depression and how to alleviate some of this stuff. So I sincerely appreciate everybody showing up tonight. Hopefully it's going to be a good, impactful webinar that you guys get some tools and some actionable items that you can help alleviate things like fear and stress and anxiety. And fear and stress and anxiety are ultimately what lead to depression. So that's what we're kind of talking about here tonight. So full disclaimer, guys, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't claim to be. And if anybody on this webinar has, clinical depression or seriously diagnosed depression, you obviously want to consult with your doctor. But you're going to have some tools and some actionable items and some things that I think will help alleviate that. So I don't have a medical license, full disclosure. This is just stuff that we've been working in for a long time. And I've helped a lot of people around the world that are clients in business and with fitness and finance. And I've noticed that a lot of them, as a side effect, if they've had depression, have completely made it go away just from working in what we're doing here. So full disclosure, again, I'm not a psychiatrist or doctor, but we are here to help you guys. All right, so now most of you know, if you know me, that I've been working with Bob Proctor. He's my mentor, he's a friend, and he's been studying the mind, the spirit and the mind-body connection for a good part of 60 years. He's arguably the world's foremost thought leader in understanding the psychology of how the conscious mind and the subconscious mind and the body interacts with this world and this universe. And again, I've been studying with Bob, and we're his top coach in the world right now. So none of this information you're going to see here tonight is really mine. I've just been a really good student, and I've applied this. And again, I've been mentoring with Bob, and he has such a clear understanding of how all this stuff works. It's amazing. And that's some of the stuff you're going to see here tonight. All right, guys, so we talk about the mind, right? One of the problems when we talk about the mind is, what does the mind look like? This is the biggest problem. If we're going to change the mind, alter the mind, or change the paradigm, we got to get a good idea of what the mind looks like. And this is fundamentally the problem in when we work with people trying to figure out how we're going to change their finances, their health, their wealth, and even things like stress and anxiety and depression. We got to get a good, clear image of what the mind is. And if I was to ask most of you guys what the mind is, you would probably say the image of the brain here, right? You'd think of the organ of the brain, right? And your brain is no more your mind than your skin or your heart or your lungs. Those are just organs. Your brain is an electronic switching station. It sends and receives electronic signals to and through your body, out into the universe, and to and through other people. So this is the fundamental problem, is understanding what the mind looks like. If we're going to change the mind and change the paradigm and shift thinking and alleviate stress, anxiety, and things that lead to depression, we have to get a good, clear picture of what the mind is, right? And what I want you guys to do here, some of you may have very serious depression. You may have come to this webinar looking for answers. And I'm not asking you to believe me, but just don't not believe me. Be neutral, right? Keep an open mind. Unfold your arms, uncross your arms, and just have an open mind and listen to what we got to say here and see if there might be some things that you can take away as some value, that you can start to alleviate stress and fear and anxiety. So if you follow the chain, fear leads to stress, and stress leads to anxiety, and anxiety ultimately leads to depression. And we're going to show you all about that. So try to keep an open mind and just take this all in, take notes, and see if at the end, if you agree with some of these principles or not. Because one of the things, guys, about the mind, people like Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, I love this quote, because Henry Ford understood these principles that we're going to work with at a very, very high level, yet he didn't graduate the 6th grade. He was what we call an unconscious competent. When he said, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. And this is ultimately the power of the subconscious mind and the mind-body connection and the way human beings create here in this universe and on this planet. And this is 100% accurate, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't. So if you're somebody that has depression and you don't think you can beat it without drugs and doctors, then you can't. But if you think there's a way, but maybe you just don't know how to get there, then you'll be open-minded and you can. And people have proven this in every area of business, life, People have beat cancer with this. People have beat diseases just with the understanding of the positivity and how the mind works. So let's just try to keep an open mind, like we were saying. And let me see if we can get you guys to think here. And ultimately, that's what this webinar is all about. I just want to get you thinking. If you're somebody that's been suffering with some of this stuff, I want to get you to have a paradigm shift and just start thinking about how we might be able to alleviate some of this stuff, right? So guys, why is it that so many people are stressed out? Let's think about that one. Why is it that so many people, even from high school and college into the work environment, all around the world, there's mountains of tranquilizers being consumed every single day because people have stress and anxiety. So why is this? Right? Why do so many experience anxiety and depression? And guys, ultimately the reason is we're not taught how the mind-body connection works in school. When we're young and we're in daycare and we're in grade school and onto middle school and high school, there's no courses in any of this stuff, right? There's no courses in decision-making. There's no courses in self-image. There's certainly no courses in how to process things like stress and fear and doubt and worry, right? So we're simply not taught any of this stuff in school. So we go through all of these experiences, and life can be unpleasant at times, and it just goes right into the subconscious mind, and it creates fear, which turns into anxiety, which turns into depression. It just kind of happens to us from a lack of awareness and a lack of understanding. But ultimately, guys, the reason that all of this happens, or the reason that we're not prepared for this, is our paradigms. And paradigms is what I want to talk to you guys about here. Because what we need to do in order to understand how to get rid of stress and fear and anxiety is basically shift your paradigm, shift your thinking. Now, most of you may have heard the term, maybe not, but if you look at what a paradigm is, right, Webster's definition of what a paradigm is basically a theoretical framework or a mental construct. But guys, for the purposes of this webinar and what we work with Bob Proctor and the sciences of wealth creation and the sciences of how people think and act and operate, I want you to think of a paradigm is a set of mental programs, right? It's a set of mental programs. Let me back up one here. That are stored in your subconscious mind. It's a multitude of habits stored in the subconscious mind from our environment. I want you to really think about this, because 96% of what we do and how we act and think and operate, it's habitual. You're not thinking most of the time. Right? So a paradigm for the purposes of this is it's a set of mental programs that have almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior. And we're going to go through some examples here to kind of show what this is. So if you take a look at the habit of smoking, right? Anybody that smokes, I mean, I know some people that smoke, at least they used to, and people that have this habit, it was an environmental stimulus, right? They don't like the habit. They don't like the way it smells. They know it's causing lung cancer and emphysema every single day. It costs a fortune, an absolute fortune, and it really just gets in the way. But they've attached stress relief to smoking cigarettes. So they attached a mental thing to a physical action. And that's what this habit is, right? The habit of smoking. It happens from the outside, whether somebody grows up in a family that smokes, or maybe in high school they see people that smoke. But the only reason anybody ever chooses to smoke is from an environmental stimulus. If they really thought about this before they ever took one cigarette, there's no way in hell they would ever start the habit. I mean, just really think about this. Let me decide to spend hundreds of dollars a month killing myself daily, putting this cancer stick in my mouth. Really think about that. Nobody would ever choose that. Guys, this is how strong an environmental stimulus can be. 96% of what's happening to you is from your environment. We're working from the outside in instead of the inside out. And because we don't understand ourselves at a conscious to a subconscious to a body connection, the mind-body connection, things like this happen all over the world. Cigarette companies have made billions and billions of dollars really off of this programming. Now, here's what I want to tell you, right? These are just habits. And you can form the habit of smoking, or you can form the habit of mastering the art of remaining calm. Your subconscious mind would not know the difference, right? I want you to think about that. Your subconscious mind wouldn't know the difference of smoking or wealth building or jogging. These are all habits. Or making a habit of being calm. And I love this picture, right? It shows somebody zenning out no matter what's going on around them. Now, this guy is not ignoring this woman, right? He's choosing to not let the outside stimulus change his vibration. And that's the key to this whole thing. So guys, there's a science to mastering the art of remaining calm, to mastering your mind. I mean, how does this stuff happen? Right? Now, 5 years ago, I didn't really know much about this at all. I was kind of an unconscious competent, but I've also had my share of ups and downs. I've had divorces. I've made millions. I've lost millions. I've built $1 million home, lost $1 million home. I've had an amazing life. I'm not complaining by any stretch, and I've always been happy. But at some level, I've always understood some of this stuff. All that stuff, it just is what it is. How you choose to move on after a divorce, or a loss of a home, a loss of a loved one, is based on your perception and your awareness and your understanding. So guys, I've used this information to do things like scale my construction company 1,000%, 10x in 12 months. I've used this information to create multiple companies, whether it's the software company or the gaming company or my construction company or consulting, my network marketing company. So what we're going to go over here tonight can be applied towards anything. Again, we started a clothing company with this, right? Now, how does the guy that went to school for engineering and was basically a white-collar worker for 15 years, then got into architecture, then got into building, like how do you end up in software and clothing? Right? That's how powerful this information is. Now, tonight we're going to apply this towards understanding your mind and mastering your emotion, your self-image, understanding that you have to feed fear to get to anxiety. And you have to feed anxiety. Like anxiety is an expression of fear to and through the body. So long before anybody ever gets depressed, they could be choking this off. They could understand this stuff and cut off the flow of energy towards fear and anxiety long before they ever get depressed, right? We're not born depressed. A brand new baby is not born depressed. Now, they could be born into a depressed environment. They could be born into an impoverished environment or born into a criminal society, but they're not born depressed. So guys, I want you to think about this. If we're not born depressed, that means that depression in our environment programs our subconscious mind over time to express to and through our body the physical form of depression. So if it can be programmed in, it can be programmed out. So a lot of this has to do with the self-image and understanding what your self-image is, your subconscious self-image. But guys, anybody can learn to master the art of remaining calm. You can learn to master your emotions. When we say emotion, what we're saying is feeling. Now, when you're feeling something, what you're saying is I'm consciously aware that I'm in a vibration. Right? So if you're feeling sad or depressed, what you're really saying is I'm consciously aware that my mind and my body is in a low rate of vibration. Now, once we start to understand this stuff, I'm going to give you tools here on this webinar tonight so that you can use mechanical things to change your state of vibration. You can choose to get into a happy state. And I know listen guys, I empathize with you. If you're somebody that's chronically depressed and you've been told by the world that you have a clinical illness and you need drugs, I get it. And you may have been going through this for a decade, so there's a lot of programming there. So this is not going to change overnight, but it can change. Right? So when we talk about self-image, we work with things. Like I work with something called a composite self-image. Now, guys, I have this image, this picture here around me at all times. And, 5 years ago, I had one company. Now we have 14 revenue streams. And I don't say that to impress you, but I've been rewiring my subconscious mind for, a good part of 5 years now because I understand how this works. So I'm taking pieces of Grant Cardone and Ray Dalio and my inner warrior self, right? Leonidas from 300. And it's not that I want to be any of these people. My mentor, Bob Proctor, I don't want to be Bob, but I want pieces of what he has accomplished. I want the essence of his spirit to come through me when I'm teaching people, right? So anybody at home, this is a very good vision board type of thing to do. Wherever you are, we all have aspirations of being something bigger. Just like an acorn turning into an oak tree, we all have aspirations of the dream. And maybe life has kicked the shit out of you and the dream went away and now you have stress and anxiety and depression, but we want to get back to that, right? So guys, what I'm here to tell you is there is an absolute science of understanding the mind-body connection and how the 1% think and act and operate. And this is what you're gonna really gain some awareness and knowledge here tonight. So what I want to start with, I want to show you how the typical masses. Now, I used to think like this too. So this is everybody. the typical masses, through typical schooling and programming, we always look at our current situation, right? We look at our results. We look at our bank account. We look at our relationship. We look at our level of physical fitness. We look at our mental environment, our stress, our depression. We look at our current results to form our thinking, right? And the experts tell us that we need medication, right, to get away from depression or anxiety. Like, you go to a doctor, the first thing they do is they give you an analysis, and most times, 9 times out of 10, they're prescribing you something. And you got to understand, the medical system's broken. It's not the doctor's fault. Number one, they don't teach this stuff in school. They don't teach this at Harvard. They teach this in holistic medicine. And there's a lot of books, there's a lot of information on this, but by and large, the hospitals and the people that are working with, they're overloaded, they're overwhelmed, and there's a multi-trillion-dollar business in pharmaceuticals, right? So they've been programmed, we've all been programmed to just go to the doctor. The first thing they do, for the most part, is try to get you something to quickly get you out of this state. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it shouldn't be like a combination of medications. But what you're going to see here tonight, guys, you're responsible for your mental health, right? You're responsible for mental health. Anything you're expressing physically, like physical depression, it has to go to and through the body. It comes from the mind. It comes from the mental environment of the mind. And you're going to see that here tonight. So what we want to do, guys, like, the typical thinking is this. We look at our current results, and it causes our daily thinking. And we just drone through the day, going to work, or if doing the same old things that we're doing because we're looking at our results when we wake up in the morning. I'm not where I want to be financially. I'm not in the relationship I want to be at. I'm not at the job I want to be at. So we look at our current results, and that causes our thinking every day. And then now our thinking causes our feelings, right? And remember what I told you about feelings? Feelings are the conscious awareness of the vibration you're in. And you're going to get a lot deeper understanding of vibration later on in the webinar here. But when we have the same old thinking causing the same old feelings, it causes the same old actions. This is why somebody smokes day after day. This is why somebody turns to alcohol day after day. It's because they're looking at their present results to cause their daily thinking. Does that make sense, guys? So what I'm going to show you is how the 1% thinks. And I don't mean 1% of money. I'm talking about the 1% of people that live life to the fullest. They're healthy, wealthy, love, philanthropy, wake up every day happy. Right? So by this definition, I'm in the 1%. I wake up every day happy on purpose. It doesn't matter if I'm with somebody, not with somebody, making money, losing money. None of that. It's irrelevant. Completely irrelevant to happiness. Happiness is a vibration. Right? So the way the 1% thinks is with new thinking. We don't look at our current results to gauge where we're going. We only focus our energy on what do we want? Where are we going? What do I want to build for a company? What do I want for a relationship? What do I want for my physical fitness? You got to start with the new thinking, because new thinking causes new feelings. And I should say new thinking causes higher vibrations, right? Now, new feelings have to express to and through the body. They have to, by law, into new actions. The physical body takes actions, right? And new actions cause new results. You guys see how this works? So if you're looking back at that last chart, what we want to do is shift our awareness and our thinking 90 degrees out of phase. Don't start with where you're at. Start with what do you want? You want to start with your new thinking, right? So guys, again, there's a science behind getting wealthy, or the science of achievement, or the science of understanding your mind-body connection. And when I say wealthy, I'm talking about love, friendship, physical fitness, health, wealth. Finances is a small part of it, but finances is actually the easiest thing to fix. If you're coming to this webinar because you're depressed, that's a much more impactful matter. Money's easy. Understanding love and understanding relationships, understanding yourself, loving yourself, that's a much deeper thing. And that's what we're here to do tonight. So what I want to do is give you a little bit of an overview on some of the universal laws that we're dealing with. And when we talk about universal laws, I'm talking about things like gravity and electricity and magnetism. But there's also a lot of laws that you guys are completely ignorant about. I know I was, right? We have the law of vibration. We have the law of the perpetual transmutation of energy. We have the law of polarity, or the law of opposites. And again, these are all universal principles and laws that are having an impact on your life. We have the law of rhythms, right? The tide goes in and the tide goes out. Day follows night. We have winter, spring, summer, fall. This is the law of rhythms. We have the law of gender, which states that everything in life has a gestation period. Oh, sorry, the law of gender is more the law of, actually, that's not really going to apply to this webinar. But the law of relativity does, right? The law of relativity states that everything's relative. If you think you're in an impoverished state, you know, take a trip to Turkey or to Nigeria, and you'll learn a lot about the law of relativity. Everything's relative to where we are and what we're processing. And then we have the law of gestation, which is the one I was talking about. Law of gestation states that everything has a gestation period. So if you're in a state of depression, there's a period of time between when we introduce new information and you implement it to how long it's going to take for those feelings, the vibrations to change, right? And there's a gestation period for a baby. It's about 280 days. Now, the law of gestation, we can't really manipulate that. And what I mean by that, you can try to have a baby, and if you expect that baby to be born 90 days later, you're going to be very disappointed. There's a universal law of gestation to that, right? A carrot seed has a universal law of gestation. I don't know how long it is from planting it to when it becomes a carrot. Does that make sense, guys? So what we're really going to focus on here tonight is the law of vibration and the perpetual transmutation of energy. Now, what I want to do, guys, is kind of give you a little bit of background, because if you've never heard or never been educated, never studied these universal laws, a lot of this is going to sound very foreign. So I'm going to start off with the universal law of gravity, because everybody here is being impacted by gravity. You can't deny that gravity is there, but nobody on this webinar can explain gravity. Think about that. And I know that about you because the most erudite physicists in the world cannot explain gravity. We have theories, and some physicists will say they know, and this is the theory, but that's not. We don't have any concrete proof or actual explanation of gravity, right? And when you think about this, is a universal principle, just like the other laws we're going to talk about here tonight. But the fact of the matter is we've studied gravity long enough, and human beings over time, through trial and error, we have gotten in harmony to some degree with the universal law of gravity, right? And now we fly, 757 jets or whatever this one is, all over 747, it's right on the tail, all over the world at 600 miles an hour, and we can put people on the moon because we have gotten in harmony as human beings with the principles and the physics of flight and gravity to a very high level. So it's all about getting in harmony with these universal laws, which will change the way you think and act and operate. If you fear anything, it's from a lack of awareness. It's from ignorance. And ignorance is not a bad term. It's just not knowing. If you have anxiety, that comes from an ignorance of how your mind-body connection works, right? And it's the same thing with depression. And I know I'm going to get a lot of blowback on this, especially from the clinical world. But again, you don't have to believe me. Just be neutral and don't not believe me. Just pay attention to the webinar and see what you think at the end, all right? So guys, everything operates by law. Everything in this universe operates by law. And I'm going to give you another law here. This is a couple of laws, but the universal law of vibration. And I'm going to give you an example of how an acorn turns into an oak tree to really give you an understanding of one of these universal principles, because you operate on the universal law of vibration just like an acorn would. Now, if you took an acorn and looked at it under a microscope, you would see that every single subatomic particle and molecule is in a state of vibration. And this is just high school science. Everything in this universe is in motion. Nothing's solid. Everything's in motion. And everything is moving at a rate of vibration. It's on a certain frequency. So if you take an acorn and it's just laying in the palm of your hand, it's at a low rate of vibration. But if we put it in the right environment, if we put it in the soil, right, in a moist soil and in a good climate, what you're going to see if you looked under a microscope is you would see that the rate of vibration of that acorn would start to increase. So it would start to excite and expand and increase. It would raise to a higher vibration through the natural laws of nature. And what happens is when that acorn raises its vibration, or when the vibration of the acorn increases, what you'll see is through the laws of attraction, little particles from all over around that acorn will start to dance right towards the acorn. You can see this under a microscope. This is not my opinion. This is science. But what you're not going to see is you don't see everything around the acorn go towards the acorn. Only what is in harmony with. When it gets on a higher vibration, it gets in harmony with what it needs to become the higher version of itself. Does that make sense, guys? So human beings are no different. What environment are you in? What is your mental environment? What is your physical environment? We are no different, right? And what you'll see little particles of water and nutrients and minerals will dance right towards that acorn, and they'll become one with it through the laws of nature. And you'll see the acorn start to expand, and the vibration is increasing and increasing. So if you've ever heard of the law of attraction, the law of attraction is a secondary law that responds to the first principle or the first universal law of vibration. And guys, we are no different. When you're in a bad mood or a depressed state, you're in a low vibration. So what are you attracting? Other depressed people. Misery loves company. That's an attraction. That's magnetism. That's universal principle, right? No different than this acorn. But when you get in the right environment, when you get around high vibration people, when the acorn gets into the soil and it attracts what it needs, it can turn into a 100-foot oak tree, right? Because it's in harmony with the laws of vibration, and it has to express to and through the laws of nature into the higher, bigger version of itself. Does that make sense, guys? So human beings are no different, right? So we can take a brand new baby in a good environment, in a healthy, wealthy, loved environment, and they will grow up to be an amazing human being and probably go on to do amazing things, right? But we could take that same baby, same exact baby, put it in a depressed, impoverished environment, and that environment will immediately begin to have an effect on that baby and cause things like depression, right? So I want you to really think about this as we get on here in this webinar. Now, the biggest environmental stimulus we have is our mental environment. And I can prove this, and you're going to see this in here, because there's people that are unconscious competence, the Oprah Winfreys of the world, the people that started off, with a bad deck of cards in a bad environment. But they're what we call unconscious competence. For whatever reason, they had things happen in their life where they were able to shift their vibration, shift their paradigm, and still become bigger versions of themselves. I think Oprah's a great example because of her background, which was just horrible. But what she did, she was able to create a mental environment, and that's what I want to talk to you about here. The mental environment is a stronger form of environment than your home or your wealth or your parents or anything. It's your own mental environment that you control. That's the biggest key to the success here, or the key to really mastering how to remain in calm. And that's what we're going to give you here tonight, is tools to help you do that. All right, so let's chat a little bit more about the perpetual transmutation of energy, because that was that other law that I want to talk about. And that's really what we're doing. Human beings, we are conduits. We are constantly channeling energy to and through us into the physical form of whatever it is we're trying to create. Now, if you don't understand this principle, then you probably live a roller coaster life, and you can actually create a physically depressed human being. You can transmute energy through your thoughts into the physical form of yourself in a very depressed, expressive, low vibrating human being. So that is a transmutation of energy. And we do that through a lack of awareness and ignorance. But I'm going to give you another example of the transmutation of energy, so you don't just have to take my word for it. Every single thing in this universe operates in these laws, and every physical thing has been created through the creator or created through mankind using or getting in harmony with the transmutation of energy. So in my past life, I was an architect and a builder. And when I was sitting with a homeowner, what was really going on is a transmutation of energy from their mind to my mind. They would have a thought of a dream home, which was just a thought. It was nothing. It was thought energy. They got an idea in their mind that it would enhance their lives to have a home. So they would get with me, and they would translate their thought energy to my mind from theirs. They might use the English language, and they might use the speech and transmit energy through speech, which is nothing more than your voice box and your vocal cords moving air that one person interprets to be language, right? Language is energy, it's movement. Thought is energy, that's movement as well. So they would do that, and they would also maybe have some pictures from house.com, but these pictures are nothing more than energy that other people interpret as meaning something. So I would take all this energy, and then I would design the house on a CAD station, and we would go back and forth transmuting energy until the image on the screen of the computer represented what they thought and what I thought they were thinking. Does that make sense, guys? But that's still just energy. It's just lines on the screen. It means nothing until we perceive it as such. So then I would take the drawings and I would get with my site contractor and I would get with the framer and the roofer and the sider and all the contractors, the plumbers, the electricians, and I would transmit that energy to and through me from my mind to theirs with the drawings and with speech. The next thing you know, they would interpret that, show up, start digging a hole, pouring a foundation, framing the house, building the physical form of what used to be thought energy. Really think about this now. And the next thing you know, there'd be a physical house there. But this is what I want you really to pay attention to, guys, and just really think about this. Close your eyes and think about this. We all agree here that it's impossible to have a house. Like a house just doesn't appear. You don't just, boom, have a house. It's impossible to have the house without somebody first thinking about it. The thought energy, the spirit energy of that house, it's impossible to have the physical form of any building or any structure without somebody first thinking about it. But we can think about the house. I can think about a skyscraper. I can think about a new dream house. I can daydream about it. I can put the energy out without having the physical form of the house. So if we all agree it's impossible to have the physical form without the thought energy, but we can have the thought energy without the physical form, which one is more real? Think about that. See, we've grown up in a mechanical age. That's why we need pills to cure depression. We've grown up in a mechanical age instead of a spiritual age. And you got to remember, I come from a mechanical background. I was a mechanical engineer for a good part of 15 or 20 years. But everything first has to exist in spirit or thought energy or conscious energy as nothing before we can hold it in the physical form, including depression, anxiety. Those are things that are in harmony, that we are expressing to and through our body through the transmutation of energy. So what you're thinking has to express to and through your body in the physical form of anxiety, which is physically painful. Depression is painful. It's crippling. It's a disease, right? It's an expression, but depression is the expression of something that could have been clipped off and changed, years ago through understanding. Does that make sense, guys? So the transmutation of energy, I wanted to explain that because we're going to be talking about that a little bit more. And I want to give you that example of how, I forgot to click the slides, but how a homeowner sits with an architect, right? It transmutes. Next thing you know, you see a foundation, again, the physical form. And the next thing you have a physical house. This house could not have existed without somebody first thinking about it. So guys, we've gone through the law of vibration. We've gone through the transmutation of energy. I want you to think about this. Let's go back to gravity. What happens if you go to the top of a 100-story building and decide you're going to ignore the universal law of gravity? Right? That's going to kill you. Ignorance of the law can kill you. So what do you suppose is happening from ignorance of the law of vibration? Ignorance of how your mind-body connection works. Ignorance of the transmutation of energy. Right? So instead of educating you on this stuff and taking time, we just give people pills. Multi-billion-dollar industry. We just feed people pills and we teach them dependence. Come sit on my couch for the next 30 years. Dependence. Let's relive the incident. Let's keep programming that incident into your mind instead of educating people how their mind-body connection works and how the depression or anxiety got there in the first place. When a soldier goes off to war and they come back with PTSD, they didn't have the PTSD when they went there. It got programmed in over time through the spaced repetition of seeing this stuff. So guys, what I'm here to tell you, anything that can be programmed in can be programmed out. Right? So I just want to, again, keep an open mind with this stuff as we go forward. All right, so what we really want to do here is understand faith versus fear. This is the tip of the sword to understanding stress, understanding the invisible, intangible force of fear versus the invisible, intangible force of faith. And I'm going to go back to the mind, right? I kind of jumped the gun in the beginning here, but when we say we're going to change the mind, we're going to change the mindset. Again, what does the mind look like? Before this webinar, if I was to ask you what the mind looked like, you probably would have said it's the brain, it's the organ of the brain. But the mind, again, it's no more the brain the brain is no more your mind than your skin is your mind, right? Or your fingernails. The mind is movement. The mind is spirit. The mind is energy. The mind is consciousness. It's universal consciousness, right? So we don't really have a clear picture of what the mind is, but for the purposes of this webinar, I want to show you a graphical representation, something you can take with you from this webinar so you can understand how your mind-body connection works. So what we have here is not a picture of the mind, but it's a graphical representation. We call it the stick man. And the larger circle represents your mind. And the smaller circle on the bottom represents your body. So what we're showing you here is the relationship between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind as it relates to the body. And again, you're going to get, if you guys typed in your email, we're going to send this webinar deck out. We're going to send a recording. And I'll send you guys an image that you can print out of this slide right here, because this is really the cornerstone to understanding the mind-body connection. So guys, everything in this picture, when we're talking about, you can see there's a left side of this, which is all negative thinking. And you can see there's a right side of the equation, which is all positive thinking. So we're going to start off with the left side, which really starts in ignorance. And most of you guys here, or most of the people seeing this webinar, are largely ignorant of the mind-body connection. I know I was for 43 years. So I was I was rowing the same boat of ignorance as all you guys. So ignorance is not a bad term. It just means not knowing. So guys, ignorance comes from worry and doubt. Ignorance comes from not knowing. We fear things that we don't know about. Now, when you first learn to drive a car, you might have had fear from ignorance, but you don't fear driving your car now. When you first learn to walk, you don't probably remember this, but as a little baby, you might have had some fear because we don't know. We just don't know. So worry and doubt come from ignorance, and worry and doubt in the conscious mind produce negative thinking in the conscious mind, which has to suppress down into your subconscious mind as the emotion of fear, right? So worry and doubt in the conscious mind produce fear in the subconscious mind. Now, through the perpetual transmutation of energy, that has to go and express and suppress to and through your body as the physical form of anxiety. This is where anxiety comes from, guys. It comes from ignorance, comes from worry and doubt, produces fear. Fear produces anxiety. Anxiety is the physical form of what you feel that does not feel good. Right? And so what happens with anxiety is it suppresses, if we hold on to it, if we don't understand this and we hold on to it, it expresses to and through the body, and it causes you to stop moving, causes procrastination. We sit on the couch, we watch TV. We come home from work, we come home from a job that we hate, and we want to get lost in somebody else's dreams, and we watch TV and we procrastinate. Now, ultimately, guys, procrastination is what produces, anxiety and procrastination is ultimately what produces depression. Because just like the acorn, human beings, we are meant to create. We are meant to grow. If you're not creating, if you're not doing something that matters, if you don't have a purpose, this is what's going to most likely produce depression. I mean, there's all kinds of other things that can produce depression. So you can grow up with parents that give you depression. You can go off to war. You can get depression that way. There's a million external environmental stimuluses that can give you depression. But ultimately, this is what's going on. It produces fear and anxiety. And then it has to express to and through the body as depression. And what happens with depression, guys, if we don't understand how to release it, remove it, get rid of it, ultimately it has to and eventually will produce disease. And Bob always likes to hyphenate that word. Disease is dis-ease. It's a body not at ease. So guys, disease, by and large, comes from worry and doubt. It comes from ignorance. Right? If we have cancer, if we develop cancer, it comes from ignorance. And I don't mean your personal ignorance. It could mean growing up under the power lines. It could mean the food you ate when you were a baby. It could mean the air you were breathing when you were a baby. Some of the stuff would have nothing to do with your choices. It could be generations of ignorance in what we're eating, what we're thinking, the environment, the pollution. But cancer is an external stimulus. It's our body's expression of an something environmentally that's going on that produces cancerous cells. And our subconscious mind is in control of producing those cells, right? We cast off hundreds of millions of cells today. Everybody here has cancerous cells in his body. But what are you thinking every day? Did you grow up in an environment where you were a little girl and your mom and your grandma said, breast cancer runs in our family. We got to take precautions. It's generational. Like, what is your subconscious programming telling these cells to do as we reprogram them? Right? That's not a conscious thing. That's a subconscious thing. So guys, environment is way stronger than heredity. And again, I'm sure I'm going to get some blowback from the medical field, but dig into this stuff. Read a book, read some books, like dig into it. Check out different cultures and philosophies. Check out holistic medicine. There's people that beat cancer every day for understanding this stuff, but the masses don't beat it. And go back to Henry Ford's statement, whether you think you can or whether you think you cannot, you are correct. We literally become what we think about through the transmutation of energy. Your body is a physical representation of what you're thinking morning, noon, and night. What do you choose to drink? What do you choose to eat? Do you choose to exercise? Do you think you have a choice or do you not think you have a choice? All choices, guys. It's all mental programming. Now, I should go back to paradigms because none of this is anybody's fault. This is not a webinar on blame. It's a webinar on awareness. Most everything in your lives up to this point, unless you understand this, has not been your fault. It's been programming from when you were a baby, your environment, the schooling, the lack of education, the lack of awareness, right into your subconscious mind. If you got picked on in school, if you were not educated in this, none of this programming is your fault. You could be completely clinically depressed and it's not your fault. It's all environmental stimuluses that you are not prepared and educated on how to deal with. But then there's other people. Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl was a Viennese psychiatrist that went through the Holocaust. But he understood this material before he was subjected to that external environmental stimulus. He went through 4 years of the Holocaust through the most horrific things that anybody could ever imagine. One of the only people that survived, and people were getting shot and beaten and starved and frozen to death and just tortured for 4 years. But he held on to the environment of his mind. So I want you to really think about this. If you're somebody that has depression, what was it that you went through in your life, and was it worse than the Holocaust? Maybe it was, but I'm betting that most of you it wasn't. Most of you didn't lose every single family member, your brothers, your siblings, your parents, your whole life, your worldly possessions. Most people did not go through the Holocaust. Some of you might have gone through something worse, but think about that. And I would encourage you to get that book, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, because he went through the Holocaust and he carried hope and faith. And eventually he got through it. He survived it. And he went on to change the world with his lectures and his studies. And he wasn't scarred. He didn't need a psychiatrist. He was a psychiatrist, right? He didn't need a couch. He didn't need medication. Now, I didn't go through the Holocaust. This is not my story. But I've studied this person. I understand what he was talking about. I can't tell you what that's all about, but read the book if you have depression. And just keep an open mind and understand, right? So, guys, let's go through the right side of this. I kind of went off on a tangent there. Knowledge, right? We get knowledge through study and understanding. That's what you're doing here tonight in this webinar. You're gaining a little bit of knowledge about how your mind-body connection works. Now, when we have understanding, we don't fear things. You don't fear driving your car because a long time ago you learned to drive it. A brain surgeon would not fear operating on a brain because he spent 12 or 16 years, he or she, learning and gaining awareness, right? So through study and understanding comes positive thinking. Now, positive thinking and understanding has to suppress to and through the conscious into the subconscious is faith. Faith is knowing. Like, I know where I'm going. I know that eventually I will be a billionaire. I don't wonder. It's a faith. I have all these companies. 5 years ago, I didn't. But I use this information, to transmit to and through my body on a faith-based mindset to cause my body to take action. Because when you have a faith-based mindset, it's exciting. It's a high vibration. People that come across me, they think I'm on speed, right? They think, like, what are you on? Why are you so happy? Well, what's the other choice? Think about it. What's the other choice? I choose happiness every morning because it's a high vibration. And if you have this, you have well-being, you have calmness. You master that and remain calm. Nothing really bothers you. Nothing shakes you. I've had complete disasters in my businesses, and it is what it is. You harvest the good, you forgive the rest, you learn something, and you either profit or you learn. There's no such thing as a failure. When you think like this, you have acceleration, which is the body in motion, and it causes action. And you create companies, you create things. You're like the acorn turning into the oak tree. And everything around you is in a high vibration. People don't know why they feel good around you. They just do. And you tend to attract people. You attract what you need, just like the acorn, because you're in a high vibration. I attract business partners. I attract software engineers. I attract good people from all over the world. I attract clients. Everything in my life is through attraction, through the laws of attraction. Now, if you've heard of the laws of attraction before and you've been on the internet, you've probably seen hundreds of people that have no idea what the law of attraction is. It's not a primary law. It's a secondary law. It responds to vibration. So if you are studying the laws of attraction with somebody, make sure that they know about the first primary law of vibration, because if they don't, they're just somebody on the internet speaking about something they don't know. And that's not going to serve you. You're going to think that you can put something on a vision board and it's going to magically appear in 2 days. It's not the way it works, right? You have to understand vibration to attract things. And ultimately, guys, when we follow this right side of the equation, we produce a body that's at ease, very high vibration, but very calm and at ease. And this is what we're trying to show you here. Because if you look at these charts, disease comes from ignorance, right? At ease comes from knowledge. And either way, it's a choice. You're going to either choose from this webinar to start studying this self and impact change and help yourself, or you're going to bounce off the terror barrier and go back to ignorance tomorrow and just go back into disbelief and do whatever you were doing. And either way, it's a choice. So guys, I found this picture on the internet, and I want you to, I'm going to give you like 4 or 5 seconds. What do you guys think this is a picture of? Actually, what I should do is type in the chat. Let me pop open the chat here. Hold on a minute. Go ahead and chat in the group. What do you guys think this is a picture of? See if we can get some participation here. Anybody? Bueller, what do you guys think this is a picture of? Confusion, this is a good one. Anybody else? That's a really good picture. I was when I saw this, I was overwhelmed. That's a really good one. Overwhelmed is a state of mind. Overwhelmed is an illusion. It's a low vibration. Anybody else? We had Joe. We got a bunch of them now. Let me see what we got here. Different thoughts. The mind and dis-ease. That's a good one. Stress. There we go. Martin Meisenheimer. Stress. Stress is a vibration. Frustration. This is good, right? So you guys are hitting us all on the head, right? This is what doubt looks like. Doubt is a vibration. It's invisible. If you doubt yourself, there's no substance to that. It's you putting energy towards something that doesn't exist based on your present awareness and your present state. This is also worry. Worry is an illusion. Worry is like praying for what you don't want. Think about that one for a minute. Let that one sit in. If you are faith-based, if you're religious, or even if you're not, worrying is like praying for what you don't want. It's putting energy in the wrong direction. Whatever's going on around you, even if you're in foreclosure, it is what it is. Why would you worry about it when you understand this, right? It's going to cause you to be in a low vibration. It's going to cause depression, and it's going to cause you to not think and not create and not be able to solve the problem. This is fear. This is what fear looks like, right? So let's try this again, guys. Thanks for the participation there. What do you guys think this is a picture of? Take it and see if we get any kind of guesses. What do you guys think that this is a picture of? Obviously, it's 4 successful people, and I don't necessarily agree with everything that everybody here is doing. So don't get all twisted. What some of these people have done, because Steve Jobs has done some pretty funky stuff that I don't agree with. But at least that when it comes to creation and what he's doing, he's operated at a very, very high level of awareness. So what do we got here? Knowledge, assurance, the 1%, confidence, clear mind, achievers. Anybody else? There's one particular word that I'm looking for. Success. Yeah, sure. It's all vibration, sure. Knowledge. Anybody else? Let me give you a little hint. You're going to love this one. Happiness. Could be. Steve Jobs was miserable and depressed, actually. So it's not happiness. It is one thing, though, and it is faith. Whether you believe in these people or not, I would say that Oprah's happy. Bill Gates, maybe. Steve Jobs wasn't. He ended up giving himself cancer through this stuff. And Elon Musk, I think he's caused himself a few breakdowns, so he could probably use this webinar. But I think Oprah's happy. She's in philanthropy. She's in a high vibration. But this is what faith looks like. Because at one point in these people's lives, they knew, they had a vision through the transmutation of energy. Steve Jobs knew he was going to create the largest company in the world. He didn't know how. He just put that vision and followed it through faith. He didn't wake up every day wondering, worrying, doubting, fearing. Now, he had a massive ego, so he just knew, right? Now, the results of these people would indicate that they had to have had faith. It's impossible to get to this level of success without faith. It's literally impossible. And this is what we want to really show you guys here tonight, is how to choose faith over fear. Right, so when we're talking about the science of all this stuff, I'm going to show you 5 ways to stop the cycle of stress, anxiety, and depression. And this is really going to be the big takeaway from this, guys. So get ready to take some notes if you want, and we'll get into it. So here's a good example. Now, what I tried to find here is people that you guys know, right? We took some celebrities. People have stress and depression all over the world. It's not a finance thing. There's billionaires that have depression, severe depression, and millionaires. So this doesn't matter if you're broke or rich, right? But in the case of Brad Pitt here, you can tell he had depression, and what he did, this is tip number one. One of the ways to start to get out of depression, and you can see here that he took a trip to Morocco and Yugoslavia where we witnessed extreme poverty. Now, what he was doing is getting in harmony with the law of relativity. And he went down there, he said, it was a paradigm shift because he said, what are you so depressed about, Brad? You have everything. You have love, you have health, you have riches, right? And through the law of relativity, he was able to shift his paradigm and focus. Instead of focusing on himself, he started focusing on helping other people. This is by far the fastest, easiest way to get out of depression. Because depression is an inward focus. You're focusing on yourself all the time, 24/7. Laying in a bed and just focusing on yourself. And I get it, it's not an easy thing. But if you can just try this, try helping other people. Go down to the food kitchen, donate your time, do something, figure out a way, get on the phone with people and try to help them. Shift the attention off yourself. So the best way that I've found to get out of depression or anxiety is to focus on helping others in need. The second way, right? Here's another person you guys for sure know, Gwyneth Paltrow. People that you would not probably believe had depression. Like, what's she so depressed about? She got everything. No. Depression doesn't. What do I say? It doesn't segregate, or it doesn't care who you are, where you are. It doesn't matter if you're wealthy or not. It sets in based on a set of environmental conditions. And in her case here, she felt emotionally disconnected after birth, like postpartum depression. Now that's a chemical imbalance too. That's not just an external stimulus, but understanding the mind would certainly help that. Understanding that my body feels anxiety, but I understand in my mind what that is. So I'm not going to choose to feed it. And it's okay to let my body feel anxious. I'm just going to ride this wave. But I don't have to be unhappy because my body feels discomfort. Does that make sense, guys? Now, what she did is she turned to therapy and she turned to regular exercise. This is number two. It's impossible to be depressed if you're jogging every morning. If you're connecting with God, connecting with infinite intelligence, raising your vibration physically, you're going to see that it's impossible to think about yourself in depression. Matter of fact, you're going to get something they call a runner's high. You're going to start to dream and visualize and picture your body getting leaner, healthier, meeting that person, getting that job, whatever it is. Exercise is an absolute key. Guys, exercise is a key anyway. We exist as human beings on three planes. We have a spiritual plane, we have an intellectual plane, and a physical body. Whether you understand this or not is irrelevant. This is the way it is. Human beings exist on three planes. You're not just a body. Matter of fact, you're not a body. You live in a body. You are a spirit living in a body. Your body is an expression of your subconscious mind and your spirit. Right? You moved into your body when you're a baby. You're going to move out when your body passes on, right? So exercise is key to just anything in life. You have to move the body. Here's another one. This one's really going to hit home because this woman, J.K. Rowling, I don't know that much about it, but I think she was in her either mid-40s or 50s, and she was depressed, suicidal, like nothing was going right, broke. I mean, her whole world was upside down. But what she did is she turned to fantasy. She started using her mind in a positive, cognitive manner. So she cured her depression. Instead of focusing on depression, she focused on this whole fantasy world. Harry Potter, if you don't know what she created, right? Think about this now. Now, this is one of the best examples that I've ever seen because she went half the way through her life operating with a low level of awareness and being depressed and not having a fulfilled life from a lack of awareness and ignorance. And then she was an unconscious competent. What I mean by that, she probably could not teach this stuff or she could not articulate what happened. But what happened is she channeled her depression through creation, right? And this is another way to overcome depression, is to channel that. Instead of on yourself, you channel it through a fantasy. And in her case, right, she created a billion-dollar empire. Do you think she's depressed anymore? I mean, look at her in this picture. She's beautiful. She's confident. She created a multi-billion-dollar empire, at least a billion-dollar empire, through her depression. She shifted that transmutation of energy. Now, there's nothing special about her. She's energy in motion. She's energy and matter. We're all the same stuff. I'm no different than you. You're no different than her. So what's different? It's a level of awareness and an expression. She turned depression into expression. So that's another way for you guys to start moving the chains on shifting your awareness and shifting your depression. Eminem is a really good example, right? And he did the same thing through creation and expression. You know, channeling his depression, his childhood. He had a horrible childhood. If you've ever seen the movie 8 Mile, I love that. He expressed his depression through a movie and made money with it, showing you guys his story. Think about that one. You guys could do that. You know, if you're somebody that has a tough story, don't take the story and bottle it up. Express it to the world, because maybe you can help some other people. Maybe you can combine 2 of these things, expression with creation and help, 3 of the things. And now through the law of cause and effect, Eminem would have to become rich. Service to many leads to greatness. His music, his movies, his expression, that would have to translate through the law of perpetual transmutation of energy into riches. It has to, by law. So think about that. And this is a real big one. Most of you guys are going to resonate with this. Ellen DeGeneres. Now, I didn't know this up until a couple of months ago, but apparently Ellen has worked with Bob Proctor in the same stuff. And before Ellen was ever #1, she had worked with Bob in this material. And she went to Bob and said, I want to be #1 in the industry. Now, think about this one. Here comes a young girl. She's a lesbian. She's younger. She's not in the industry. And she's trying to knock Oprah Winfrey off her throne. Think about this. And she studies the same thing. We have a thinking and results program that we work with clients with. We work with corporations and sales teams and management teams and individuals. And this is the same information that she was given. Right? Now think about this. And you can read this here for yourself. She was depressed, right? She thought she was going to lose her show. When she was revealed in 1998 that she was a lesbian, she thought she was going to lose everything, right? But then she sought help. She sought guidance. She sought mentorship. And she became the #1 talk show host, right? So she had acceptance and happiness. And more importantly, the 5th thing here, guys, is she had gratitude. That's what Bob taught her. That if you want to shift your awareness and shift your vibration, what you want to do is wake up every morning and immediately go to gratitude. Gratitude is a vibration. It's not just a religious thing. It's a scientific thing. Focus on what you have instead of what you don't have. Right? If anybody has stress or anxiety, you're focusing your energy in the wrong direction. And you can tell through that stick figure that that's what's going on. So guys, it's impossible to be in a state of gratitude and be depressed. The mind can't do 2 things at once. You can't think of 2 things at once. And I'll give you a good example. Try this right now. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to try to focus on the Statue of Liberty and making dinner. Like, what are you going to have for dinner tonight? Try and focus on the exact same thing at the same time. One thing I want to show you guys how to do, I want to show you how to create a life script. Now, a life script, what it really is, I don't want to say this, it's scripting out your life based on gratitude, based on wealth, happiness, health, fun, love. You're really affirming and you're really writing out all these things like, I'm so happy and grateful that I live in a perfectly healthy body. I'm so happy and grateful that I have hot running water. So happy and grateful I have a roof over my head. I'm so happy and grateful I have a daughter or a son. So we start off with gratitude, right? And then we move into friends. And we focus only on the things that we have. And then we also write out, I'm so happy and grateful now that my business is doing in excess of $100,000 a month, or whatever it is you want to focus on. I'm so happy and grateful now that I have that home in Florida, right? You want to paint the picture of all your job and your business and your relationships, your health, wealth, love, and happiness. You're trying to write the story of your future self. Now let's go back to the transmutation of energy. right? The transmutation of energy states that everything must exist first in the thought form, right? You have to be able to visualize, you have to be able to fantasize, to put energy in motion so that it transmits to and through you into the physical form. And that includes your mental state. Whatever your job is, whatever your business is, whatever your health is, it has to start with the fantasy and the thought energy. And I think we've done a pretty good job at proving this. This is not my opinion. This is physics, putting energy in motion. If you're overweight right now, you can use this life script to rewire your subconscious mind every morning to cause your body to start to want to go to the gym, to start to want to drink water instead of soda, right? So this is how this works. So now what we do is we take this life script a step further. What we want to do is write this all out. And guys, there's no right or wrong here. There's no right or wrong to this. You just want to, we call them writing affirmations, right? You just want to write these groups of affirmations and paint this picture, write a story. I'm always adding to mine. I talk about gratitude. I give gratitude first. I talk about my daughter and my family, my health. Then I talk about my businesses, where we're going, getting to $1 billion, software company, gaming company, Forex company, all this stuff, right? I talk about clients and working with you guys and attracting clients. My life script is like 20 minutes long because the next thing we do is we record it. Now, guys, if you can just trust me on this, if you can just trust me, write a life script, do it today, do it tonight, get a little recording app and record it to yourself. Get in a calm space and listen to yourself talking about your future self to yourself. What you're actually doing is you're rewiring your subconscious mind by listening to this. So if you're somebody that is depressed, you'll be so happy and grateful now that I've mastered the art of remaining calm and I'm living a happy, healthy, joyous, abundant life. Don't write an affirmation that says, I'm so happy I'm not depressed anymore, because your subconscious mind will hear depressed and you will reaffirm depression into your subconscious mind. So we always want to write these affirmations and the wish fulfilled. I'm so happy and grateful I'm living in a perfectly healthy body. I'm so happy and grateful now that I've landed my ideal dream job and it feels so good. So we do these things over and over, and we're going to give you some information. If you want to connect with us and mastermind in this and kind of dig into this a little deeper, we can coach a little bit more on it. And maybe I'll even do a longer seminar on this to really help you guys out. So does that make sense, guys? So I have a life script. I listen to it every morning from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. So this is the tip of the sword. And I know people that are depressed, you're going to say, well, I wake up and I can't move. What I want you to do is just change one habit. Wake up and put your earbuds in and press play. First thing you do, wake up, put your earbuds in and press play on this life script. Or press play on a motivation or a meditative or something that's going to overrule your programming of you thinking about yourself being depressed. That's the tip of the sword. That's the nugget in this webinar. You got to do a paradigm shift. You got to do something that shifts your awareness. As soon as you wake up in the morning and your mind starts to mess with you, you got to pull it back. And by putting these earbuds in and listening to some good information, you're going to shift that awareness, and slowly but surely you'll get out of this stuff, right? So my daily visioneering, I do gratitude, I do my life script, I list the demands, I ask for guidance, and I study and take action. Right, so this is what I was talking about, guys, right? Now, traditional therapy, think about what they're doing. Think about what they're doing. If you're somebody that's in therapy, I want you to think about the visits you have and what they're doing. They you know, whether you're in a couch or in a chair, what they're doing is let's do a past life regression, or let's regress back to when you were a kid, when you got raped, or when you were impoverished, or when you were picked on in school, or whatever the horrific incident, when your parents died. Let's go back and relive that. Let's try to dig into why that was a traumatic incident. Now, if you understand the mind-body connection and how affirmations, how we affirm, when we bring that into our conscious mind, it suppresses back into our subconscious mind. It has to. So every time you relive the past, you're affirming it. You're making it stronger in your mind. And this is why people are in therapy for decades, instead of understanding how this works and choosing to focus their energy only on what they want. Guys, it doesn't make any sense to focus on what happened. It happened. Whatever happened to you happened. Whether it's PTSD, whether something as brutal and violent as a rape. Like I said, Viktor Frankl went through the Holocaust. You know? but he understood this stuff. He doesn't relive the Holocaust, and he wrote books about it. I mean, he expressed it and he got it out of him, but he doesn't stay in that mode. He uses that as a tool to show other people how strong this information, that you don't need medications, you don't need years of therapy. Now, I'm not telling you to quit your therapy, and I'm certainly not telling you to quit your medications. I'm just suggesting that maybe you try this life script thing. Maybe you get these books I'm going to recommend. Maybe you try a paradigm shift and start using your mind, and maybe you start questioning, do the people that you are getting information from, do they understand this stuff? Or were they driven through a school system of ignorance on how the mind-body connection works? Think about this, right? Because it's not the doctor's fault. They're not versed in this material. They're taught something completely different. And the other thing, guys, most doctors are way overburdened. I feel for doctors. I feel for teachers. They're in a broken system. You have insurance. Everybody's suing everybody. So I'm not picking on doctors. And they gotta do the best they can. It's almost like triage. It's like a medical unit and the MASH unit in a war. They gotta get people in. They gotta do whatever they can as quick as they can because they don't have the time to spend 6 months with you. But we do, right? So they give you medication because they know that'll mask the symptoms and they know it's gonna stop you from jumping out of a window. So they're trying to save your lives. They're doing the best they can by prescribing medication and then getting on a regimen of therapy. So I'm not putting that down, guys. I'm not bashing anybody, and I'm not claiming to be a doctor. I'm just trying to get people to think on this webinar, right? What we want to do is focus only on what we want. I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm living a harmonious, peaceful existence. I'm in harmony with my family. I'm in harmony with my kids. I'm at the job that I want. I'm in a creative state. I'm helping people, right? And what you'll see is that your body has to start taking action. It has to. If you keep programming it long enough, and if you reverse the programming that has programmed you to have depression in the first place. Does that make sense, guys? All right, I want to go back to this picture here again. Think about when you're sitting on a couch and you're reliving the past. That information's in the conscious mind, and you're talking about it with a psychiatrist, which is further suppressing it into the subconscious mind, which is going to cause the body to continue to be depressed. Think about that. Now, if you happen to have a doctor that understands this, what they're going to do is they're going to teach you to only think about what you want. Let's not relive the past. It doesn't matter how it happened. It really doesn't. The past is not even real anymore. It's energy. It's a figment of your imagination. All you have is the present. And we program the present one day at a time to focus on what we want. That makes sense, guys? So I'm going to get you guys a PDF file of this. You can print it out and use this stuff and start to really contemplate and think about this. All right, guys, so what I want to do here, I want to give you some recommended reading. So the only reason I know all this information is I'm a good student. I've read hundreds and hundreds of books. I study with the best teacher in the world, Bob Proctor. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars learning this stuff, and I continue to improve my mind and my understanding of myself. So in my travels, I found these books that I think will help most if you have stress or anxiety, fear, or depression. One of them is The Power of the Subconscious Mind, or if you have disease too. If you're somebody, God forbid, you have cancer or you have any kind of disease in your life. Now, I'm not sitting here saying I can cure your disease. I'm sitting here saying that your subconscious mind is responsible for producing cancerous cells. And there's information here that people have used that have reversed cancer. Whether you can or not is going to be up to you based on your level of belief, understanding, and faith. Right? So we have The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy, The Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton. Right? This is not my opinion. This is these people that have studied for their entire lives and put it in books. Dr. Joe Dispenza is a really good one, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Think about that one if you're depressed, right? We got to get out of our own heads to become the higher version of ourselves. There's a book called The Four Agreements, which my mom recommended to me, which is one of the most pivotal books in my entire life for understanding not absorbing other people's bullshit, not absorbing other people's vibration, their depression. My mom went through quite a bit of stuff in her middle age with this stuff, and she's out of it. She came out of it. She, through education, through trial and error, and actually a lot of hard times, but now she's at a state of awareness That's amazing, absolutely amazing. This was part of it. She gave me this book, The Four Agreements. And then I always like to throw in Think and Grow Rich. Now, Think and Grow Rich sounds like it's a business book, but it's a wealth building book. If Eminem can go from where he was to worth about $400 million, then so can you. If J.K. Rowling can go from being suicidal at age whatever, 50, 54, mid-age, to being creating a billion-dollar empire, then so can you. The principles that these people have used are all in Think and Grow Rich. And I know that because I've read it, and that's how I think and act and operate, and that's the exact path I'm on. So the reason why I don't have fear, I don't have stress, I don't have anxiety, and I don't have depression is because I've read all these books and I understand myself. It's not because I don't have environmental stimuluses. I've been divorced multiple times. I've lost million-dollar homes. I've taken six-figure hits in my business. I've lost loved ones, right? Now, I've had a beautiful, blessed life, and I've had some very good environmental things. But the fact of the matter is it doesn't matter where you are right now. It matters where you want to go. And that's the critical thing. It's decision, right? So guys, we all have mentors. In the history of the content, none of it's my content. I'm learning from Bob. I'm learning from all these people. Bob learned from Earl Nightingale, and Bob's had tons of mentors through his life. Earl Nightingale was inspired and learned from Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill wrote the book Think and Grow Rich, and Napoleon Hill was mentored by Andrew Carnegie. Now, Andrew Carnegie was the world's first recorded billionaire, I believe, the United States Steel Corporation. And he was an immigrant from Scotland. And he used these principles to create the largest corporation in the world at the time. So Napoleon Hill wrote the book Think and Grow Rich, and what he did is he studied the world's wealthiest, most successful people, 500, throughout history though, including Jesus Christ, Napoleon the Conqueror, people that were dead, Abraham Lincoln, and then his friends that were like Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, those are his friends. And he put all this information in the book Think and Grow Rich. So that's why I recommend that book. It's the history of the content. What I'm doing with Bob is carrying this content forward. That's what I've really dedicated my life to. And the reason why I decided to have this webinar on stress and depression is because it's a global killer, right? So I'm hoping that you guys get something out of this. I'm hoping that we package it up and that you share it. We're going to post it. We're going to post a recording. We're going to make a YouTube video. And I'm hoping that you guys help to make this video go viral and hopefully help a lot of people. So guys, one of the things we're doing too, we have a service called the Matrix Mindset Academy. And this is our no one gets left behind service. This is something, some of you are on this, that we have for 67 cents a day, that we educate people in all this stuff. Everything you're talking about here, we have the daily space repetition. We deal with real estate. We deal with business. We deal with health, wealth, love. We deal with fitness. And this is something that I did as a give back. For less than a cup of coffee to educate people on all the stuff that we're studying. I'm training with Damon John right now. There's $50,000 on that, right? So I want you to think about this stuff. I'm spending hundreds of thousands of dollars educating myself, and I'm giving it back through this channel called the Matrix Mindset Academy. And you're going to get a link to this. And I encourage you to click on the link. I'm going to give you a 30-day free thing here too. So for less than a cup of coffee, right? You're going to get access to this thing. It's on Facebook. It's Facebook Live. And we're doing little 10-minute daily things. Again, some of you guys have been on there. But if you haven't, I encourage you to check it out. Drop by for free. There's a little place, if you click on this, info.matrixmindset.xyz. That's the link. It goes through a little educational landing page. And then you can type in an MMA30 gift. Right? We have a free code, MMA30 gift. And I'm going to leave that up in a little bit, where you can just see if it resonates for free. I'm not looking to do anything other than educate people. If you get on there for a month and it doesn't resonate, don't stay. Like, we're not looking to build a business off of just, conning people into 67 cents a day. This is our give back program. It's entry level. Some people cannot afford our one-on-one coaching. So we created that. All right. So the other thing, guys, I love this quote by Bob. Now, Bob is my mentor, and Bob hits tough. Bob does not sugarcoat things. He told me a long time ago, if you don't invest in yourself, do you really expect to win? Right? If you have any of these conditions, guys, and you're stressing and have anxiety and depression, and you're not willing to invest 67 cents a day, or at least check it out for 30 days, do you really deserve to win? I tell people this in business too. I work with people that want to get to 100,000, 200,000, $500,000, or $1 million a month. but then they don't want to spend, $10,000 or $30,000 learning how to do it. So that's not in harmony, right? So if you don't invest in yourself, invest your time, read some books, get some mentorship, have somebody grab you by the hand, do you really expect to win? That's one of I quoted that with Bob Proctor, right? So guys, we do one-on-one coaching for all kinds of things, for entrepreneurs, for corporations, sales teams, management teams. We do it for, we do it for entrepreneurs building businesses. We do it in real estate. We do it for network marketing. We just did a free 4-hour webinar on that. Business startups, multiple revenue streams. And what I want to say here is we also coach people through this type of stuff, health and wellness, how your mind operates. So guys, there's a lot of things we do. And what I'm going to do is put up here, I'm going to leave some information so you guys can take some of this stuff down. And I'm really hoping that this webinar was impactful. If you guys want to learn more about our one-on-one coaching and this stuff, you can email Madison@matrixsuccessnetwork.com. That's more for our one-on-one coaching in business or really anything, startups, real estate, working with teams. We work with corporations. And again, we're Bob Proctor's top coach in the world right now in this material. And guys, I don't say that to impress you. I say that to impress upon you. I understand this stuff like a scientist. I'm not a psychologist, but I understand this stuff probably better than a psychologist. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that because I've learned from the best in the world. And if you're interested in the daily live coaching that we do on Facebook, on the lives there, you can go to the Matrix Mindset Academy registration link. And there it is right there. It's https://info.matrixmindset.xyz.com. And I want you to click on that, go through the landing page, and you can type in MMA 30 gift, right? MMA 30 gift, all caps, and you'll get a free 30-day trial on that. So we don't do it for 7 days. We allow you to really get in there, interact, and we have daily live coaching where you can interact, and we also have Monday night webinars. We get on at 9 p.m. Eastern, and people come on in group, and we interact just like this. Now, on this Zoom meeting here, I'm just broadcasting information to you. But on our Monday night mastermind sessions, it's a two-way street. We can all see each other, and it's an open mastermind group. You can ask questions. I'll answer them. And we answer each other's questions. Really, really good community. And quite honestly, we're given so much value in that course. Again, it's a give back course. I'm just trying to help people out. And you can take somebody and really just, even if you're living on a park bench, you can collect cans and you can watch this stuff on your phone and start to, start to hopefully implement some change. So guys, it's been my pleasure, my honor. Sorry for the technical difficulty there, but it's been my pleasure, my honor to work with you tonight. Hopefully you got some value out of that. If you did get value, make sure you share these links and share the broadcast when you get in your email. We're really just trying to get it out there. We're going to put it on YouTube. We're going to make a broadcast. We'll clean it up, and we'll get it out to the masses. So it's been my pleasure, my honor to work with you guys. I wish you all the best. Hopefully you've gotten a lot of value out of that. And I want you to have an amazing, abundant day. And if you do have questions about this, if you want to interact with this, go ahead and click on the Matrix Mindset Academy and join that, and you can work with me live there. We can go back and forth with this stuff. All right, everybody, have an amazing night. God bless. Be well. Take care, and I look forward to working with you in the future.